Hello and welcome to today's edition of Relatable. I am your host, Stephanie Michele. Today we're going to explore a few things: lessons learned, lessons taught, and the importance of laughter throughout it all. As I was preparing for this show, I was reminded why I do this. I want everyone I know to feel good. I want to feel good myself. I want you to feel good. Feeling good takes a lot of work. We have to let things go. We have to be willing to learn new things. We break down sometimes, and we have to be willing to rebuild ourselves. And we have to ask for help. Being able to ask for help is essential. We need each other. We need to feel seen, heard, and loved to feel better. Motivated shared experiences keep us going. I'm wearing my shirt today that says I'm here for Feel Good Relating. Fast food relators need not apply, to remind us to make time for meaningful interaction. If you need this reminder too, remember it's available on my site at stephaniemichele.com. Fast food Facebook connecting will never fill us up and nourish our souls in the same way spending time in one-on-one conversations will. My guest today is no stranger to the art of conversation and connection. Joe Hernandez-Kolski is an Emmy Award-winning host and a two-time HBO deaf poet. Whoa. He can be seen with Kristen Borle and Sutter Foster in the Netflix reboot of Gilmore Girls, which I did watch, A Year in the Life. When he's not acting in film and television, he's traveling the country and performing his unique blend of stand-up and spoken word poetry at colleges and universities. For 16 years, he has been running an open mic for high school performers in LA called Downbeat 720. Welcome, Joe, to the show.
What up?
Is it fun to hear your bio?
Sure, I guess so. I mean, I live with myself, so I know what I've done.
You know what you've done,
and more importantly, what I want to do.
Yeah, so, yeah, interesting. So, everyone that sits in that chair, Joe, I always like to give them the opportunity to just clear what's there. Like if there's anything distracting you from being in the room right now that you just I just want to get this off my chest. Now's the time to do it.
I want to thank you to everybody who wished me happy birthday.
When was your birthday?
It was Saturday.
Nice.
So I'm still going through all my Facebook people wishing me happy birthday, which I think is back to what you're saying. I think it's important. I like to thank each and every person who's wished me happy birthday, because as opposed to just a general message, I do like to try to connect as much as I can. And when people take the time out, even if it's just HBD, they've taken the time out to reach out to you, and I think that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. What did you do for your birthday?
I was up in Napa with my dad. I wonder if my dad's watching. He's probably too busy in his retirement now. So we were in Napa. My dad, his journey is incredible. He used to be in business in Chicago, where I grew up, and then around the age of 38, he went back to school for his master's in social work. He started working in drug and alcohol prevention.
Wow.
And then he got a job when he was 66 in San Mateo, California. He packed up our childhood home and moved to the West Coast. And now he lives in Napa. He retired and lives up in Napa, California, from Chicago, Illinois, from the corner of Diversity and Central, all the way to there, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I spent the weekend with him and my sister, who got engaged.
Ooh.
Congratulations, Chrissy and Jerry.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good weekend.
It was really nice.
Nice celebration of your birthday.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep going on this theme. Let's learn more about you as a child. What more we know about your dad. Where did you fall in all of that? Being raised in Chicago.
I was talking with my girlfriend earlier today. I was the geek trying to hang out with the freaks. So if you are a fan of Freaks and Geeks from NBC, which only lasted one season, but it's on Netflix now, I encourage you to go watch it. It's one of my favorite all-time shows. I was the geek trying to hang out with the freaks. That really is it. I was, I was too nerdy for my friends. My friends wanted to watch Faces of Death 3, this god-awful, it was real footage of real deaths, and you could rent it.
Whoa.
At West Coast Video before that, when that existed. and that's what they wanted to watch. And I was over here going, Ebert
Sounds
says
like that should be illegal.
Oh, right? Totally.
Like,
but kids would rent these movies, and it was terrible. And I was like, Ebert thinks that Roxanne, starring Steve Martin, is very good, and I encourage us to watch this tonight. But
And what was your big play to, like, if you were the geek, to try to hang out with? What did you say?
the stereotype is Freaks and Geeks is the name of the show.
Okay.
So you were either one of the nerdy kids or you were one of the like headbanger kids.
Okay.
That was my. I've always had a very polarized existence, and I don't know if polarized is the right word, but like my name is Joe Hernandez-Kolski. So I'm half Mexican, I'm half Polish, and that hyphen in the middle of those two names is the bridge that not only create that I believe I bring those worlds together, but I've always existed like that. So like in high school, I attended a predominantly black high school, Whitney Young High School on the west side of Chicago, where Michelle Obama went to.
Nice.
Hashtag humble brag. And so I existed in this world, which was this diverse, world, like where it was like, I think like 80% African American, high graduation rate, one of the top high schools in the country. And then I also lived on the northwest side of Chicago, so I would take an hour-and-a-half trip from my house to school, and then I also had my neighborhood friends who were predominantly Polish, I would say German, and just working class heavy metal kids who that was my other world, and I would live between those two worlds. And I think everybody probably you have your different worlds that you live in.
Yeah.
And so my entire life, I've always felt like I live on this bridge and try to connect worlds.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I've similar upbringing in the Midwest.
Where'd you grow up?
Michigan.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Right there.
Here.
Or do I have to do it with the right hand?
Here.
I have to do it with the right hand.
Here. Outside of Flint, very close to Flint.
Very wealthy part of this country.
Yeah. So sad. But I wasn't very cliquey. I mean, I wanted to know different people. I to this day don't really know who my people are. People are my people.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by different stories and things, and there was a lot of adult things going on in my life as a child, and especially into high school. So I think more of my relationships were with adults than there were with people my age. So that kept me kind of moving around, but and just interested because I didn't really know, where I fit in. So
where do you think your inquisitiveness to connect or find relatable moments between people, where do you think that came from? I know where that is.
Well, I joke about it all the time. Middle child from the Midwest, product of divorce.
Okay.
What else would I care about? And I can tell you, I don't know if I've told this on air, but the pivotal story in my mind where this was going to be a theme for me, because my career, I actually wanted to be a fashion designer. I ended up in ad agencies, a production manager, so the mediator between account services and creative services.
Okay.
That theme has showed up everywhere, where I'm always mediating and communicating different, to two different groups that don't speak really well, directly with each other. But I can trace this back to a moment that I think was a pivotal moment for me caring about this, where I was sitting behind the Christmas tree, rocking with this Ewok stuffed animal that I might have got for my birthday, because it's 2 days before Christmas, and witnessing a fight between my mom and my stepfather. And I just remember thinking, there's got to be a better way. There's just got to be a better way. Like, they're like, if they weren't so tense and shouting and communicating in a non-productive way, like, they actually were agreeing on certain things. I mean, of course, my 10-year-old brain didn't go productive and say, but I've looked for those moments, like ways to better understand and connect, and continue to be curious about it. Because I think it's funny when someone says they're a relationship expert.
When somebody calls themselves a relationship expert?
Yeah, I do. I think it's funny because it's something that we're all so complex.
Yeah.
We have different experiences. We have separate hearts and minds. Like, the idea that you can ever be an expert at this is just
it's a constantly changing.
Yeah, you're always learning. You're always learning.
That's interesting.
So back to you. Let's talk about acting.
It's us.
No, it is us. Well, so I could say the same thing about I could see where you playing in different groups would lead to you wanting to be an actor. Like, so tell me that story. Like how.
I feel like that's. I mean, I just grew up acting. My mom was in community theater, and I was 6 years old, and I remember looking up on the stage and going, "That looks like fun. I can do that." And so, in her normal ways, my mom never did anything for me. She made me do things myself. And I remember being like, and her being like, "No, this is what you do. You say, that gentleman over there, his name is Mr. Brubaker. He's the director. You say, you go over to him and you introduce yourself. You say, 'Hi, Mr. Brubaker. My name is Joey Kolski. I'd like to be in your play.'" And so she sent me over there, and I pulled on this gentleman's jacket, and I said, "Hi, Mr. Brubaker. My name is Joey Kolski. I'd like to be in your play." And so they wrote a little part for me and put me in. It was called Here's Love. It was a musical version of A Miracle on 34th Street.
Nice. And
so that was it. And she was in more theater with my godfather, David Barrett, who's maybe watching. And I was really into theater. And then she got my sister and I into theater when we moved back to Chicago. So I was born in Chicago. I lived in South Bend, Indiana for a few years as a kid. And then we moved back to Chicago when I was 9. And I started doing professional theater as a kid, and I really like the opportunity and the ability to be somebody else. And I just like being the bad guy.
You do?
Yeah, I got to play De Guiche in Cyrano de Bergerac in high school. I just thought that was the coolest thing. Just he was the bad guy.
How do you there's nothing about you in person that screams bad
guy. Exactly.
Yeah.
I never have gotten to be the bad boy.
So how do you prepare to be a bad guy?
Although that's a whole other conversation. I mean, I still remember I got to play him again in college, and the director and I wanted to really make him as human as possible. We didn't want him to be the mustache twirling bad guy. We wanted him to be genuine, and his actions are out of jealousy and frustration. And I always liked that. I always liked being able to be those different people. And there was different statuses that I also enjoyed playing. I think as somebody who was very, or at least sees himself, very blue collar, I like the idea of playing different statuses and being able to play with that.
Is it also about entertaining? Do you like to entertain?
Oh, and who doesn't love to be, like my sister once said to me, you get applauded at the end of your day. Yeah. Like my sister works in the Chicago public schools doing social work. She doesn't get applauded at the end of her day.
We should just create a new rule around that.
I get applauded at the end of my work day. Like, how amazing is that?
I think that should be the social challenge of the week, that you just announce that at your workplace. At the end of this day, we're all going to applaud each other.
As much as I respect the military and the sacrifices that people have made, and very often the fact that a lot of them come from impoverished backgrounds, and this is their opportunity to get out of that. As much as I appreciate that, I want us to start applauding school teachers as they walk through the airport. And not that you can keep applauding military, but man, if we could put a uniform together so it's a school, we know it's a school teacher, and we can applaud school teachers as they walk through the airport.
They need a little pen like our politicians.
Man, God, school teachers
They need a little apple.
Yeah, right?
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Are you a school teacher? Here, your coffee's free.
Yeah.
Like, heck yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great idea. So we know you like to entertain and play different roles and meet people. Where did the giving back, like working with the teenagers, and where did that come into play?
That's always been a part of our DNA. That's partly.
When you say our parents,
family, I mean, that's my father's father was a Chicago politician. He on the day that he retired. And the thing he said to everybody was, "I'm just trying to benefit the group in one way or another." And I've always felt that. And that I definitely looked up to him in many ways, because he would take me with him. So he had 3 granddaughters from my uncle. I was the first grandson. So that he kind of grabbed onto me. And yay, patriarchy. But like he really did, and he would take me around, and so he was a big influence. But my mother's mother was the first Latina politician in the city of Chicago, So she has a middle school named after her in Chicago. She has a forest preserve named after her. Irene C. Hernandez was a major politician in Chicago and the first Latina. She was anointed by the first Mayor Daley, and so yeah, and that's in my family. And then my mother doing gang intervention when I was a child, got me involved in that. Had a program called Youth Empowerment, and so she would teach like the older teens. You had a choice. If you got in trouble with the law, you could either serve time or you could go work with my mom. And she did a series of workshops teaching mostly young men about decision making and creating decision making skills. Yeah. And so she would teach the older ones, and I would teach the younger ones. And so I was like 17, teaching 10 and 11-year-olds about how many choices did you make today. Well, I didn't make any choices. Well, you went to school, right? No, but my parents made me. You made that choice. Yeah. When you got up, you chose what to wear. You make choices every day, and so that was always a part of it. Yeah.
And flash forward to today. So the spoken word competitions that you run, talk to me about that, and how did that evolve?
I mean, Downbeat 720 was. It was a collaboration. So Justin Yoff, who is a cultural affairs advisor for the city of Santa Monica, he runs the Miles Playhouse in Santa Monica. It's this beautiful old theater, and he said, I think he had just taken over the position, and he was like, I don't ever have anything on Tuesday evenings. I would love to do something. This theater was created for the youth of the community. Let's do something for them. And so he approached a theater artist named Amina Kaplan, who was a good friend of mine, and she and I sat down at Sharky's Woodfire Mexican Grill in Hollywood, and we came up with this idea. And she's a drummer by trade, one of her skills. And she said we'll start at 7, but the Downbeat will hit at 7:20, meaning we'll officially start then. And I was like, well, let's just call it that. That's a cool little name, and people will know when we start. Now, if we could actually start at 7:20, I'd be very happy. So, but for 16 years, we've been creating this safe and supportive space for high school youth, whether they're poets, musicians, singer-songwriters, bands. They come in every second and fourth Tuesday of the month for 16 years.
That's amazing.
They have a space to perform.
That's amazing. Now, are most doing it because they want to pursue a career in music, or
we get a little bit of both? I mean, the stalwarts, the hardcore kids, once we find them and once they find us, they continue to come back. Yeah. So we always have, it's like we're about to lose a swell of talent, and they're all graduating, and it's like, how are we gonna do? New ones always come, and it's a pretty amazing like that.
What do the kids say that they get out of it? Like when they leave, when they're about to graduate and stuff?
I think they gain a lot of confidence. I mean, I think having a space. We have the Downbeat commandments, which are respect yourself, the other artists in the space, all styles and skill levels are embraced, feel free to fall on your face, and then several others.
They all rhyme?
Yes, they all do. And but encouraging them to take risks, it's important.
Yeah. What have you learned about what kids today, are teenagers in particular, are struggling with? Like, what's the thing that you hear?
We always have been. They want to give love and they want to receive love. That's all anybody
They don't
wants.
say that though. Like,
no.
How does it?
But that's it's relationships. Yeah. It's that boy done me wrong.
Have you read texts from some of your kids? Like, what does this mean, Joe? Like, have they ever showed you like?
No. Kids are they're good. They're amazing. We're fine. Like, as much as we're worried about this next generation, and there's real reason to be concerned about this social media world, because I do think it's got to be affecting us emotionally. Like, I don't think the human spirit is evolving as fast as technology is. And I don't think we have evolved emotionally to know when someone's read our Facebook message. Like, I say that jokingly, but like, it's easy to take that stuff personally. Like, why haven't they responded yet? I think we've gotten better at it. At least I have. Like, when I first saw that, I was like, oh, he just read that. Why hasn't he responded yet?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think there is a lot of data around this that, yeah, you said, I think this is happening, but it actually is pretty true. It's the lack of context that we have in our interactions that teach us, you know, all the different feelings and the ways that we do connect or not connect with people that are not in that interaction.
Yeah.
So then it creates more of this like dopamine kind of like, you know, anxiety of like, oh, why isn't this person contacting me without the, well, you know, I know they're working, like, because you don't know. You only have the relationship of like immediate now. I sent you a text, why didn't I get it back? So it's the slow down and pay attention to the context that, like, I always try to think about what my high school would be like with a cell phone.
Sure.
Because you know, they weren't around, and like you learned anticipation. Like you had to, you know, there was a little art in finding out if the boy that you liked you. You know, and your friends were involved, and you had lots of conversations about it, and you know. But there was this amazing, rich anticipation, and then you found out the real thing, and it was, you know, and there was lessons learned in that.
My girlfriend put me onto a Pete Holmes comedy bit where he talks about back in the day, if you wanted to know where was Tom Petty born, you just didn't know, and then you would find out, and this wealth of this feeling would overcome you, you know. And now we answer it immediately.
Totally.
Totally.
So, I really like the idea of teenagers getting up on stage and even doing something impromptu or performing as a way to like build confidence and even experience like little minor failures, because you know you might get up and can't remember the words or trip or whatever, but like it's
so
like
beautiful. And we really reaffirm that. So they'll, you know, get back up there, stay. Okay, so how do you think that just went? I forgot and I didn't go well. Guys, how amazing was it when she, you know, forgot her words and then just let go, and then she gets the applause from the audience. And we go, that was amazing. Like, as long as you continue to just stay connected and recommit to it, that's all you can do. And then give it up one more time, and then she goes. So like we really try to hold on to those moments and really let them know that it's not going as badly as you think it's going. You know, there's really some beauty in letting go, and as we talked about, you and I before, like viewing failure differently. Like, do you think that didn't go well? The fact that you're here, the fact that you made the choice to come today is a win. Everything else is, if you stayed home and watched TV, then that's a different type of failure. But if you give it a shot, that's not failing. That's, you know, and if it's not where you want it to be, you just have to work at it a little bit harder.
You know? Do you think that's one of the biggest lessons that they get out of it, is just this relationship between failure and succeeding, that, you know, that you need both to...
And I think we do a good job of really like, let's see what happens, do it. We have a very huge rule, which is no disclaimers. And you can't get up there and tell us, well, I just wrote this, so no disclaimers. You're not, stand behind it.
I like that.
You know, that's a huge part of Downbeat, is you're not allowed to make disclaimers.
I like that.
Because you're giving us, people too often, it's like, but it's not ready. I know it's not. It's never going to be. But if I just, no, that's why what we do is brave. And not we as artists, we as human beings. None of us know what we're doing. Some of us are just better at pretending. Like, and the more you stand behind it, the more, that's all people want. People don't, it's not about, well, his word choice. No, like, if you're connected to it. And if you disclaimer it, we don't want to see that. We don't want to see people not stand behind who they are.
How do you teach the other kids to give feedback? Is there a process for that?
Kids don't give feedback. We give the feedback.
So, okay.
every once in a while we'll open it up, but we don't. That's too much. Like Joshua, my comedy partner, and I, we do a lot. Jedi, our other partner, he will. And if Jedi says something, that really means something because he's our DJ. He and I have been at this from the beginning. Joshua came on like maybe a year and a half, 2 years later. But like Jedi doesn't speak up too much, so when he does, it has a different weight to it.
That's fine. Are there things? So obviously, we kind of talked about earlier that we're okay, kids are okay, we all go through the same things. Have you relived an experience in working with these kids, or like a lesson learned that you're like, man, I wish I got that when I was this age, or like what kind of reflections have you found yourself doing?
I mean, I love Downbeat I get more out of it than they do, I think, and I force myself. I think over the years, when Downbeat started, I was in my late 20s, something like that. So I had a different. I think the greatest and worst thing about getting older is you know better, and so like you don't do stupid things anymore because you know better. But you also don't do stupid things because you know better, and stupid things can very often lead to better things, and you know, risk of failure becomes a bigger thing as you get older, I think. And I know what I'm gonna have to put in to get out. And when you're younger, ignorance is bliss. That's why it says that. You know, it's like that's why it still exists, is because it's just easier in some ways. And so when I was younger, I used to perform a lot more at Downbeat. I don't perform as much, and so now I'm trying to utilize it as an opportunity to be like, look, if I want them to take risks, I have to continue taking risks, and I need to show them that. And so, you know, the difference between show and tell. You know, it's easy for me to tell them they have to take risks. It's better for me to show them. How
would you show them that? Can you give an example of how you showed?
Just testing out new pieces that I know aren't ready. That and it's like, yeah, that's why what we do is brave. You know. Because stand-up comics will go up there with a word on a sheet of paper and riff on it, and it's hard. But when you find those golden moments where you let go and really connect, there's nothing like it.
So it's maybe trying new topics and things too, like that you never, like if you're gonna read some spoken word, like maybe it's a new topic like that you've never covered before.
Yeah. So my comedy partner and I have a new residency with Sacred Fools Theater every last Friday of the month at 11 p.m.
Hashtag shameless plug.
Yeah, the Joe and Joshua show will take on new topics, and our goal is our last show was, or 2 shows ago now, was all relationship related, and we talk about girls a lot because you guys are awesome. But we want to start opening up more. So we're going to take on religion, we're going to take on money, we're going to take on sex, and we're going to, like, you know, really try to break it down as best as we can.
That's brave.
Yeah.
Would you want the kids that you've taught in the past to come to your show? Yeah.
We would, if they're. I mean, this last show, sure. 2 shows ago was pretty. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty open.
Yeah.
You know, I still remember a woman saying, "Wow, I came and saw you perform at whatever event, and you did the same piece that you just performed for these kids." And we try to do that mostly. You know, we want they're teenagers. I mean, sometimes. I mean, we watch some of the language. We have a new piece that gets a little brazen. So we had to edit it. I didn't think it went over well because it's like it's either got to be crude or it doesn't work. So
you
some
try
people
to play to everybody. It doesn't work, right? Like it's too safe.
Well, just this piece, the whole opening joke is about male genitalia, so you can't really. God, that sounds so gross, doesn't it? But yeah, but it's the.
You can't really downplay that.
No, and you can't edit that.
Got it. Got it. All right. So we talked about moving on.
Love
segue.
it. Love it.
We talked about you like playing villains, like playing bad guys.
I do.
What's like the ultimate role? Like, what's the role that you haven't played?
Iago.
Like, yeah. What?
Iago.
And tell me more.
Othello.
Uh-huh.
I would love to play him. Yeah. In fact, I need to set up a Google reminder to see if any productions of Othello are being performed anywhere. He's the ultimate bad guy.
Yeah.
And he's just smooth and charismatic, and you can't play him as a bad guy. You can't, in most acting, you can't play the problem. You're going to get in trouble that way. Like, if you know you're supposed to be a bad guy, you can't play it bad. That's why I hated, I used to love Walking Dead, and then it jumped the shark, and all the bad guys played themselves like the bad guys. You can't do that. You can't. Well, what are you going to do now? Huh? Yeah, no, no one's interested in the bad guy who knows he's a bad guy.
So the bad guy that we can kind of...
I think I just came up with the premise. I need to write that one down.
Yeah,
no one wants to watch a bad guy who knows he's a bad guy.
So the bad guy that you can kind of relate to.
Yes!
That you can, yeah, that's like...
That
you can
add some depth to your character. Yeah.
You like doing that.
Oh, absolutely.
You want to play the bad guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
I just want to ask this question.
There's no such thing as bad guys.
What cartoon villain would you want to play?
Well, I want to play Bugs Bunny.
He's not a villain.
No. He's so he's still a role model. What cartoon bad guy? Well, I mean,
was that a Simony
Sideshow Bob is amazing.
Sideshow Bob.
He's so much fun. I don't know, cartoon bad guy. Yeah, no.
You can phone that in when you
Sideshow Bob.
Sideshow Bob.
He's so much fun.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna switch gears.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get to know you in a different way. So I like to show at any given time the way that we're relating can change. And the easiest way that we do this on this show is just to ask an off-topic, random, silly question.
Okay.
From this box over here.
Okay.
Sometimes the box seems to have a mind of its own and it stays on topic, and sometimes it just goes just right out there.
Where do these come from? These look all perfectly designed.
They are.
That's a real thing?
That's a real thing.
This is like for conversation starters.
It's exactly what it is. It's a company called Table Topics.
Table Topics.
Yes. Oh, this one's upside down. We must have used this before.
Okay.
Let's see what it is. When have you stood up to your parents?
When have I stood up to my parents? I can tell you when I stood up to my grandfather.
Yeah.
We have this thing, and I don't know if it's part of the human condition or if it's part of the Kolski tradition. We have to, when we're in the right, we have to make sure you know you're in the wrong. And that's like, so we went to...
That seems like a Midwestern thing.
My
family's like that too.
I feel like, you just got to know you're wrong.
Yeah.
So we went to, my whole family went to Notre Dame. My father did, my grandfather, my godfather, my uncle, my sister, they all went to Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. And he came out here to visit me for the USC game, and he found a pep rally. And he was like, we're going to go to this Notre Dame pep rally the night before the game. It wasn't a pep rally. It was like this, it was an Irish band in this tiny restaurant. There weren't a lot of people there. And we wanted like a pep rally.
Yeah.
So my grandpa got upset. So he went and complained. He was like, this isn't a pep rally. and they refunded us our money. Good, let's go. And he kept like verbally abusing these people. Well, you can't advertise like that. I'm like, Grandpa, let's go. Like,
they've already given us our money.
And he was still complaining as we went to the car. People need to know that. I'm like, no, you got our money back. Let it go. And I remember this was the first time I ever like, Grandpa, you're wrong. This is not.
Did his eyes like? How did that go? Like, how did he respond?
He probably had a couple scotches in him by this time, so I think he was okay. But that's something that I think is in us, and I don't know if it's in all of us or if it's just in my family. But I think like having to like stand up, but sometimes you stand up a little, too much.
Well, we were taught to respect our elders. Like that was a big thing.
Absolutely.
Which meant, no talking, no confrontation whatsoever is how I took it. Like just so I don't know. I guess, I mean, the story I told you earlier off camera about my grandma, I mean, I guess that's standing up.
Yeah.
To, yeah.
Can we tell them that?
No. No.
You're like, I don't want people to know my grandma like that.
No, I don't. All
Okay.
right. How about a new question? You know why? Honestly, why not? Is I committed to doing this. Like, and you committed to being an actor and working with kids and kind of and being sort of an open book or being playful. I committed to this. My family did not.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are lots of things that I could add more context about me, but I feel very protective for some family members because they didn't choose to like tune in to a live stream and hear their business.
Interesting.
So that's why I draw that line. It's a relational line that I draw. Okay.
I hear that.
You ready for a new question?
I do.
I'm like pre-looking at them. That's not fair. Okay, I'm just gonna randomly. Okay. What stereotypes of your minority group do you fit? This should be interesting.
What stereotypes of my minority group do I fit? Ugh. Ugh. No, I'm not gonna feed into any of that. I have issue with the Latin people. They're just so passionate. I hate that. I think that certain characteristics come out of certain people. It's called confirmation bias. We all learned about it in psychology class in high school. There are some people who are passionate. There are some people who are not. I know a lot of Latinos who are very cold. And there is a certain conservatism that comes also with religion and the fact that there's a strong Catholic background amongst Latinos. So that goes completely against the passionate side. And I know, Eastern Europeans who are very passionate or whatever, like the Polish side of my family, I guess, would be the less emotional. And I guess the Hernandez, God dang it. I guess the Hernandez side is, but I don't know if that's true. Like
there's always something like a case that
like
can
some of them are. Some of my relatives are passionate. Some of them aren't. And I think that just comes down to human beings and the way you were raised.
And the situation, the circumstance can bring out different behavior too.
Yeah.
So
I don't want any more stereotypes.
I agree. Right. Yeah. Do you want another question or do you want to ask me a question?
So what else? Well, we came here to. Well, we talked about.
You could use the box.
Okay. Yeah. Let's ask you a question.
Yeah. You can use the box. You don't have to come up with a question. Oh, okay. I'm going to help you.
What does the opposing political party do better than yours? Nothing.
Oh, good Lord.
Nothing. They're a bunch of cowards right now.
Did you just answer my question?
Yes. Nothing. If you're a Republican right now, you go home and you write a letter. You tell them that your party's being taken over. There's a difference between fiscal responsibility and whatever this guy's doing. But go ahead, answer it.
No. I don't even want to step in that. It got a little.
Like I have no problems with differing opinions and differing approaches. This is unheard
I
of.
think the whole binary two-party situation is just not working anymore. No. And so either party, like is working in the bigger picture. So
where's my high horse?
What?
Okay,
so what's happening?
Okay, so I'm gonna get on my slightly short horse because I know you can't go that high. 78% of Americans currently live paycheck to paycheck, and only 1% of America owns as much as 90% combined. That's not healthy, regardless of your political affiliation. So go home, write a letter, and
many letters,
and talk about the fact that that's not healthy for anybody but the top 1%. And if you think this guy's got your back, whoo, Emperor has no clothes. So go on.
True.
Let's ask another question.
Okay, we're on a roll.
What's your favorite?
Did your coffee just kick in?
Exactly. Yeah. What's your favorite raunchy movie?
Oh, raunchy.
That's better. Let's go in that direction.
Raunchy. You know what? I have not seen a good raunchy movie in a long time. What would be raunchy? What define raunchy? Is that
just
sexy?
the first thought in your head?
Raunchy.
Whatever the first movie that comes to your mind is.
Okay, so it's got to be like boy humor kind of comedy. So what
Just
boy
whatever
humor?
first comes to.
Nothing's coming to mind. That's why I'm stalling. Like,
Okay. What's your favorite raunchy movie?
Really, like, okay, what would be like a guilty pleasure that's like that a movie that I've watched over and it's raunchy?
I don't know if Happiness is raunchy. It's dark.
Happiness.
Yeah, it's a Todd Solondz film. He writes some really dark comedies.
Yeah.
Really dark. But raunchy. I like The Girl Next Door. That would be considered a raunchy movie.
What was that about?
It's about this kid who a porn star moves in next door. It's kind of a take on risky business. It's a little antiquated now. There's definitely very real reasons not to like it from a feminist perspective.
I gotcha. Okay, so maybe like what was the one with all female comedians wedding something?
Bridesmaids. That's a good raunchy
Yeah,
movie.
Bridesmaids. Yeah.
That's a really smart, fun.
Yeah, I guess I'd say that. I probably have a better answer, but I can't think of anything right now.
Okay.
So, all right, let me get one more question out of this box.
Okay.
Let's see what we can. Let's see what does
How are
Joe
you doing,
need right
Elijah?
now? I don't even know what this is. Have you ever been coned? What the hell is that?
Have you ever been conned?
Conned. Oh, well, there you go. Coned. Conned.
I have been.
Apparently, I've never read before.
I have been conned. Oh boy, that's a good question.
Have you been
good
conned?
Question. Oh, I've been conned. Yeah. He was my. I met him in D.C. His name is Mark Pickering.
Ooh.
No name's been changed to protect the not so innocent.
Ooh.
He was my wow. Just pull back the layers on this onion here. So, and the layers keep, as I'm trying to tell this story, the layers keep.
Like you haven't thought about this.
So I worked briefly at the White House under Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
I did speech writing and policy analysis in the healthcare war room. I was 20 years old. I was taking a year off from college, which is a whole other story. And I was not making a lot of money because you don't really make money. Mm-hmm. I was very heartened by our government and the people who worked for it. They were highly committed to passing universal health care for all Americans. That said, I wasn't making a lot of money. I had to find a part-time job. I found a part-time job working as a club dancer. I worked dancing on a box from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., fully clothed, mind you. This was not like G-strings or anything. I didn't have the body for that. I weighed 138 pounds and was 5'6". Like could not pull off a G-string to save my life. But that said, I could dance. Yeah. And so I got a job working as a dancer. Greatest time of my life. I worked White House by day, dancer by night. And I met this dude named Mark. He hired me.
This sounds like an HBO special.
Doesn't it?
By the way. Like we should be writing this
I
immediately after the show.
That's what everybody says. Maybe I should write.
Okay.
So I met this guy. He became my friend. He then got fired by the club. He then lost his house, his car, and he ended up moving in with me. I vaguely remember one evening, for some reason, he got my social security number. I don't remember why I gave it to him. I was 20 years old and stupid. And so I then go back to college to finish up my last year and a half. During that year and a half, he co-signs a credit card and a cell phone using my social security number, runs it up to $5,000, and then drops it. Then has the gall to call me saying, hey, what are you doing? And I go, I'm moving out to LA. And he goes, I was thinking of doing the same thing. Gets in a car with me, and we move out to LA
because
together.
You don't know this part
I
yet.
don't know this.
So it happened before. Oh my goodness.
We move out to LA together. We are in a one bedroom together. I'm paying for everything because I'm still young and naive. My mom knew. My mom knew. Mm-hmm. She did not like him. Mm-hmm. She did not trust him at all. And so within several months, he hasn't paid me anything for anything, and I kick him out. And it's at that point that the creditors start reaching out to me. He somehow almost perfectly timed it, that he like disappeared from my life as creditors.
So you've never seen him again?
No. And And so I had to write letters of fraud
Yeah.
to the creditors and got it all fine. But I do want to thank him, because if it wasn't for him, I would have made an impulse buy and I would have bought a stereo at Radio Shack. And I would have put it on a Radio Shack credit card. And Radio Shack turned my credit down. So I couldn't buy it.
Is that how you
That's
found
how
out
I
about
found
it?
out. I was like, I need a new stereo. So, and I was with impulse buy, had not searched anywhere. I was going to buy this Radio Shack piece of crap stereo on a Radio Shack credit card.
Oh my goodness.
And they were like, unfortunately, your credit's been denied. And I was like, why? And then I called them and they were like, you have a outstanding balance of blah, 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 made out by a
I
market.
wonder where this guy is now.
I think he's back in D.C.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care.
It's probably a politician. That sounds like pre-politician behavior. Sorry.
God, I would almost, I don't know.
Ah, wow, that's a story. All right.
Yeah, I've been conned.
Well, obviously your heart swell will not be for him. So
No.
let's move on to some better and more inspirational things. So one of the things that we like to ask the guests to do when they come on the show is to give a heart swell to somebody that they feel needs a shout out, that you just want to like say, hey man, you mean something to me, you've taught me something, you're important, I don't say this enough. Like any way that you want to say it, it's just the action of doing it that I hope inspires other people to reach out to people and do the same. And to show that it's just not that hard to like say something that is from the heart, intending to make a difference in someone else's life. So first question, are you willing to do one?
Sure.
Okay. Does somebody come to mind?
Sure.
And you can have a couple. There's no rules on how many heart swells that you can have. There are no disclaimers on heart swells. All right. Well, when you have somebody in mind, just look at the camera and talk to that person.
So this shout out goes to my best friend Greg, who lives up in the Bay Area. I know he's been kind of going through some changes in his life recently, and I want him to know that I have his back at all times, because he's had my back since we were 13 years old, and he's such a good listener, and I want him to know that I will do a better job at being a listener to him, and whenever you need it, you can always rely on me. I love you a lot. Well, I'll tell you that story. So men saying I love you is, people in general just say love you. Don't say love you, say I love you. Stand behind that. So we were both leaving for college. I want to say I drove him down to move in his freshman year. And I remember thinking, I'm going to tell Greg I love him. Like, this is going to be the first time. I'm going to tell him.
Tell my buddy I love him.
I'm going to tell my buddy I love him. And I remember dropping him off, and we're standing outside of his dorm, and we're in the hug, the guy hug, and I'm like, all right, love you, man. And he didn't say anything. And I was like, oh man, he didn't say it back. And then he called me like a couple weeks later, and I remember I was in my freshman dorm, and he was going through it, typical freshman stuff. And I remember listening to him, and I remember being like, all right, man, I'll talk to you later. And he goes, I love you, Joe. And I went, I love you too, Greg.
He said it before you? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
So I love you, Greg.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That should just be our social challenge of the week. Like, how many people can you tell I love you to? Like,
and
really,
I love
friends.
You.
Friends.
My buddy David Mays, shout out to him. He made me watch, didn't make me, but we watched a documentary about the Tragically Hip. You guys ever listen to that band from the 90s?
I remember the band.
I didn't know anything about them, and their lead singer, had a major, like, he knew he was going to be dying fairly soon. He had a major brain aneurysm or something, and he had surgery, and they went out on this final tour, and he like connected with each one of his performers before every show, and would just say,
I want to watch that.
And just say, I love you.
Yeah.
And just like, so powerful.
I love it.
So go tell people, I love you.
Yeah, I think that.
Not love you.
I think, unless you have a better, I think that has to be our social challenge of the week.
Yeah,
let's do it. Actually use the words, I love you, and say that to not just your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your partner, but like friends, family. And if you're really down with it and you're really brave, the attendant at the grocery store. Like, just say, I love you, man. I love you. You know, like,
see what happens
see what happens.
Well, and there are the people in our life that we don't even. There are people in our life.
People that make your coffee.
Well, people that we see more than other people.
Yeah.
Like I see, my gym owner more than I see deep friends. And
yeah.
the fact that that's a very real. People talk about their hairdresser all the time.
Even there's people. I mean, I live downtown. My commute to this space is 2 blocks, and there are people along that walk, both coming to work and leaving, that are really meaningful to me. That just in the way that they say hello, or acknowledge me. Like, we've maybe said 10 or 12 words, but like, it's just the way that they show up that makes that walk like I'm about to see this person. It's the person, our door guy, like, always, hello, good morning, have a great day, good to see you. Like, it's just nice.
Well, it's hard to show up sometimes.
Yeah.
We're so caught up in our own crap, and we don't realize that it's one of the beauties of being an actor is I take classes in understanding how to, when I'm in my own head, focus on my partner. Ask you how you're doing, focus on what your needs are, and just listen. We don't do that enough. Yeah.
Well, I like that your heart spell was about that too. I mean, to really give credit to a good listener.
Oh, he's so good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, my friend, we're almost at the end of the show. So any final, is there something we didn't cover that you'd like to just kind of put out into the ether right now?
No, I think that was it. I think ending on that note is the most important. I mean, giving your own life the respect that it deserves. I say that at the end of my college performances. That's the coolest of them all. Like, really, just if everybody, I don't know, take your space, but at the same time we're present in everyone else's, and just, we're all in this together. We're all in this together, all of us. And it's just, those who have been hurt, who think it's their right to hurt others, it's so destructive. And I do my best to be self-reflective and make sure I'm not doing the same.
I say that in a different way. I think it's very important to know your own role in it. Like, to really take time to pay attention to that, and not look at all the outside influences that, oh, this happened and this is why this is happening, or this person I have to blame. It's like, well, what was your role in all of that? That's the greatest way to kind of check in and go, yeah, we kind of are in this together.
All of us.
Definitely in this together.
Yeah. And I want to shout out Elijah for my art. Can I show him my art?
Oh, yeah.
And it's got notes too. Look
Can you get that?
Made a little art for me. Isn't that cool?
Let me see. You look presidential.
Yeah.
I think he looks like it's like you playing Abe Lincoln or something.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't it?
And what's with the shrimp? Just make sure. Is
What?
that a nautilus?
Let me see.
I don't even know what a nautilus is. Part of my. Okay. Gotcha. I just write Van Halen's symbols over everything. That's all I do.
Why?
I'm a huge Van Halen fan.
Apparently.
Oh, huge.
Oh my God.
Favorite all-time band.
We'll talk more about that off camera. All right. So where can people find you?
At Pocho Joe.
What does that mean?
So pocho is a term that Mexicans used to use towards Mexican Americans in a derogatory fashion. They would say, no eres mexicano, eres pocho. You're not really Mexican, you're more American. And I was given that nickname by a political cartoonist named Lalo Alcaraz, who also he also worked on Coco, the Pixar movie. And so he, as soon as I moved to LA, gave me that nickname. And the belief is, todos somos pochos. We are all pochos. You can't grow up in the United States without being influenced by so many cultures on a minute-by-minute basis. So if you're like me and you grew up putting mayonnaise on your tortilla as a snack, you're a true pocho. So that's where you can find me, Pocho Joe.
I like it. It works for you.
That's all my social media.
That's all your social media. That's his website.
And follow Joe and Joshua as well.
And we'll share all of that, and so we can get to the Joe and Joshua show from your site as well,
August
right?
31st, 11 p.m.
All right. It's all about the plugs today. We did several of them.
But this is all real. These are not plugs. These are not plugs.
Mine too. Just no extensions, as you can tell. Well, thank you.
I like the short hair.
You like the short? I actually am pretty. I'm digging it. It was a little. It took me a while to do it, like because it was like gradually, and I'm like, eh. Now you know what I like the best about short hair? The time it doesn't take me to get ready in the morning.
I'll never go back to long hair.
I can sleep in a little bit longer. I don't have hair and all this stuff to do. Ugh. That's the part that's the best. Yeah, thank you. So thank you for being here. This was delightful. We went everywhere, including an almost Tom Cruise moment in the chair. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Elijah's artwork made it into the show. It was great. Thank you so much. We'll share all of his links so you can get a hold of Joe and find out where Joe's performing, and you know, if you're a teenager and can
absolutely,
and on the west side, you can show up for Downbeat's 720
yep.
and meet with him there. So kind of there's going to be a weird sort of connection to this show and next show. We're going to be meeting with Tabitha that does work in mental health and suicide prevention. There's a connection, you know, like this whole stigma around mental health, and we kind of talked about things even in the show about just being real with it, but we're going to dive in a little bit deeper about some signs and ways to show up for people, and really just about not having the stigma around mental health. Like, we work our bodies out, people. Like, why shouldn't we be concerned about what's going on with our head? And it
don't
should
get
be
me
totally
started.
Normal.
Yep.
So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. As always, I just want to encourage everybody to relate with more curiosity, and we'll see you next week.